Okay, so we'll call the joint meeting of the Finance Committee and the Select Board to order, seeing the quorum is present. David?
So we normally meet with town council and the moderator right now. They're not here, but we can talk about some of the last minute changes to the warrant based upon the votes of the Select Board and the Finance Committee last night.
I had a couple of quick questions too at
Sure.
some point in time, whenever.
Do you want to do it right now?
Town council has arrived. Joel, we're being taped for a meeting.
Article number 8, the money for the town hall parking lot, the $26,000.
Yeah,
Where is that coming from?
that's coming from the prior article appropriation.
For the town hall?
Town Hall and Senior Center.
Town hall and senior center, thank you. And that was some leftover revenues. Are we earlier moving that money around earlier on the docket? In
Not understanding the question.
We have a location here, a article number, a warrant article, where we were taking money that was leftover fund money.
Oh,
Yeah.
the fund balances, that's the Article 5.
Okay,
All right, so that Article 5 does not address the funding source for the parking lot.
okay, so that is not part of that,
That's
okay.
correct.
Okay, and Article 5 is the one that's being amended
There
for
will-
the historical records.
That's correct, so the third, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth item down on page 8, where it says STM 2001 Historical Records Cleaning, and there's an amount of $1,879.45. At the public hearing, the Historic Commission said, you know, we really could use this money. The Select Board at the time and I did not have an objection to them using this money. So let's allow them to move forward. So I've recrafted the motion.
But I still had some interest in that part of it also, is that they were taking the money and using it for the Historical Society for items that were being reserved for the Historical Society, not necessarily the Historical Commission. So I think that needed some clarification.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought Ginger clarified that. Didn't we ask that question when she brought it to us? And
No, it
she-
was-
I was very specific as to
Yeah.
finding out where that money was going to be used by, and the commission, which she sits on both commissions, she said that they was being used for keeping of records, and she wasn't very specific as whether or not they were for town records for the commission or town records for the society, so
Okay, so you feel it's still ambiguous.
it may well come up as a question this evening.
Okay.
The leftover monies from town hall, and what else did you say, safety complex?
The Town Hall,
Senior Center.
there was an article for the Senior Center and let's see.
Article number 8, the
Yeah,
26,000.
Article number 8, it was money, $26,000 out of an available, I want to say it was something on the order of $70,000 left in that article. $86,000, and it comes back to me now, $86,000 was available in that article.
That was left over from the town hall and the senior center.
That's right.
Okay.
Some of that's been earmarked, but there's certainly 26,000 available for the parking lot.
Okey-doke. On article number 9, I'm sorry, article number 11, I asked, and I don't know if we ever came to any conclusions as to what the numbers will be. The article is where we're taking and allowing the seniors to help us along the way. I think we should cap that and have a cap on that number.
Okay. You would do that as a select board vote, not a town meeting vote?
I would like to be able to understand what that number is amongst the select board this evening, so that should it come up this evening, we don't look starry-eyed out there. I think you had said you were looking at, what, $5,000?
16.
No, I just was planning.
16, Article 11.
I'm sorry, it's Article 11 on page 16.
So just for planning purposes, I thought 10 positions at $1,000 each. I think you floated the idea of 5 positions at $500 each.
But we can still,
I thought you
Because
said
it-
$1,000.
She
well-
said 10 at 1,000.
right, but the talking point is the select board may set any amount of the abatement and may limit the number of participants in any fiscal year. So if in fact this passes at town meeting, we can then come back and have further conversation.
You will have to come back
And then that is the point in time that we would set that?
The conversation that you're gonna have this evening, I'm anticipating is
Yep.
what kind of money are we talking about?
Sure.
And
And so
we-
maybe we give people a range, because I don't think we've landed on one yet.
Well, that's what, let's land on one tonight. Let's find out not to exceed. I don't care if the number is, what the number is gonna be, if it's 5,000 or if it's 10,000, but let's not to exceed
Right,
a
well,
certain number.
Language in and of itself limits the amount of taxes to be abated, not more than 1,500 a year is
Per.
allowed. So that's the cap,
That's per. That's per person.
per person.
If
yeah.
we have 28 people at 1,500 apiece, it's a different number than if we have a number at $10,000, and it's what we're gonna use for an intro to see.
But you're gonna have to also set a limit on how many people you're going to do the first year.
And
I just-
we also have to define what they're going to do.
That, it comes under our purview in the future. I'm thinking as a taxpayer on town meeting floor, I'd like to have an idea as to what type of money the select board had in mind when they were putting and presenting this to us. So if $10,000 under the first year is the number that we would like to set as, how it gets spent, I'm not looking to tell people how it's gonna be spent, but let's have a number available that we all agree on as to what the number would be.
Sure. The only issue is we have 2 select board members who aren't present right now.
We have a quorum here tonight, and if somebody wants to make a motion, I would like to make a motion that it's, that,
Can we indicate to people that it's I'm just worried about locking ourselves in right now. I mean, I think we're all in agreement that it's gonna be a modest amount of money. It's on a trial basis. We don't know if it's gonna work. So can we just use like that language and say, we're gonna start at a very modest level?
what's a modest level?
Well, I would say like 500 and see where our money
Well, he's talking about a cap of like the whole, not like, if somebody
Per
says,
individual at this point.
I don't
are we
want-
talking $10,000-$15,000, something like that?
Yeah, because what happens if everybody applies for it?
Well, again, we'll have
Then you could have like
guidelines in
50
place
people
too.
doing it, you'd be in trouble.
But then they'd have to be capable of the position that's open.
Mhm.
And we haven't determined that yet.
So.
And we have to have the position available.
Right.
So if it's helpful, when I put together the budget with this in mind, I thought about 10 positions at $1,000 each,
Okay.
so it's $10,000.
Yeah, so why don't we say in the neighborhood of $10,000?
And it's only if it comes up.
Exactly.
It's only if it comes up. I'm not gonna state, anything in advance, but
Is
if
that
it,
okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
fill Brian in on that one.
Mr. Moderator, welcome.
In the neighborhood?
Hey, brother.
We'll be out by your house.
Which one?
Okay, so we good on
This
that?
is Article 11 on.
It's only if it comes up as a question, and I won't use it as a buzz talking point or anything.
Okay.
It's only, if it comes up, I'd like to be able to answer that the select board has.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
All right, did you have any other questions?
We have not voted on something here.
Let's see, that's what I
Not
thought
even
too,
that,
and David
just
said
the
we
treasurer.
covered everything. I thought there was one that we hadn't.
There, you know what it is, the council of governments.
So this is a big motion?
Right, and that's because
I think we're gonna.
we're gonna
take it off the
recommend it's
table.
passed over tonight. right?
Okay,
Change of public membership, Article 10.
how about, did we,
See, we did
And they
vote
have-
on that.
We have those other articles too that are coming off.
Article 19, is that coming off?
Article
The
19,
Terran-
Is that the Heron
Yes.
property? that-
Okay.
Town property, yes, and the related article as well.
21.
21.
Yeah.
Okay,
And 10 is coming off, correct?
That's the HCOG one, so
Right.
are you guys taking it off?
We're gonna be passing over it.
Yeah, for tonight.
So we're gonna pass that one?
Article 10?
Do you have an extra one of those?
we're here.
Hi Valerie.
Hi, Valerie.
Okay.
So we have votes from finance committee and select board on every article?
Yes.
Okay.
You just need to remember to
Read
read
them off.
them.
I had a question on majority versus supermajority control. So would it be helpful if I just touch on the changes since last night? So last night, the Select Board and Finance Committee passed the budget, Article number 6. There is a funding mechanism for that, so there you go. And this as well.
And she's looking for the new warrant.
The new warrant,
The new warrant,
is it the same as the old one? Because I've got the
the
old
same
one.
as the old one.
But this has talking points and a whole bunch of other stuff. in it.
That's-
The other one
That
does
should have
too.
two.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Really
So-
quick, did we make recommendations on Articles 22 and on?
Usually you don't on,
Yeah,
on,
not
on
the
those
zoning.
articles because
On the zoning ones, we did not.
Thank you.
Well, we're not remiss in any of ones that we were supposed to
No,
do.
you were complete. You completely and faithfully dispensed with your duties.
Miller time. in other words.
Almost. Almost. You never know. Things can happen on town meeting floor and the pencils have to come out.
Okay, so does everybody have the numbers article for Article 6?
Well,
Yep.
Yeah.
if that
The
happens,
numbers are, what is it,
The
Article
little
6?
Article 6, the omnibus budget.
that's
Okay.
us.
I made. Oh, you missed these
So
page.
that's the new motion.
That's the motion.
Oh, could I have that,
Sure.
please? Do you have one?
So, can we go through the pomp and circumstance? So you're gonna, 'cause I'm gonna read the numbers out.
Yeah, what'll happen is, every article, depending on the article, if there's a real long-winded, I don't think we have any of those. What are the zoning board articles?
They're easy
They're-
peasy
They're
stuff.
easy peasy, but in past years, if it's like 3 pages long, I give you 5 minutes to read it, I'm not gonna sit up here and spit it out verbatim. When it comes to the budget, okay, I will read the motion, and then when it comes to the detailed line items,
Yep.
that's normally what the finance committee reads out in public.
So you'll cue me to come and stand
Well,
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I read the original motion, and then you guys go through the line items, and then when we get all the way to the bottom, that's when, well, first we get a motion and a second, then we read all the line items, and then when we get to the bottom, we'll take questions. There could be questions, cause you guys breaking it up like we have in the
Well-
No,
past.
Tom offered.
Tom offered to do it all.
I'm gonna do the whole thing. I can stop every periodically and look up at you or something.
No, it's totally up to you. So if you wanna read the entire line items, that's fine. When we get to the bottom,
We'll ask if there's questions.
we'll ask for discussion. And then if there isn't any, or if there is, we'll deal with it. And then, we'll move.
And
we'll-
should we stop if like someone throws a rock at me or something?
No,
No, just
Yeah, stop,
kidding.
but it's not gonna happen.
no, I mean,
It's eggs, Tom,
basically
eggs.
you're we're gonna have handouts at the door, obviously, right?
Yep.
Just like we have in the past.
Yep.
So,
They'll be able to follow along.
they'll be able to follow along, and they might ask questions, and if they ask questions, we answer the questions, and when all the discussion is done, I'll take a vote on it.
They just don't have the talking points.
They have everything, access to everything but the talking points.
Okay.
That's why these guys get the big bucks. So they get to talk.
Well, I noticed that in the budget.
Yes. So, you wanna go over Article 6, anything else?
Article 5 is just that adjustment, having giving you the revised motion.
This is Article 5,
Article 5,
and that's Article 6.
Article 6.
And the divisional motions haven't changed.
Yeah, the only thing is Mr. Waskevitz, I don't know if he's gonna be here or not.
He's not.
He will not
He
be.
will not be.
Okay, so who's gonna do number 14, the marijuana tax?
I think they pointed the finger at me.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It can't be me.
It can't be you, why, have you been outspoken?
We need to
against
keep it
said-
civil.
All right, so I have notified the petitioner, so there is no reason why the petitioner, the last article, there's no reason why that person can't be here.
Okay.
I've indicated the majority's, supermajority votes on this, except that I have a question on one of them. And that's on Article,
If they don't show up, the petitioner, can we just simply pass over it? Or we still have to take a vote?
Depends on the motion. If
Yeah,
there's no
it depends.
motion,
If
Yeah,
the motion
moderator.
fails,
Well, you call it out, and if nobody moves it,
then it's dead.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's,
Then-
okay.
then you say, I hear no motion, and you pass over Article X.
Yeah. Article 20 is, I guess, do you have a conflict of interest on the West APR?
Well, I kinda do.
Could you please state your last name for the record?
But I mean, if you went through my history and my family history, I'd probably have a conflict with about 80% of what happens in this town, but no. If, I would offer, if Mr. Devine would read that motion, that would work for me.
okay?
He was waiting for you to do that.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
You know, if, that's fine. If, so you're gonna step aside and say, I'd like to turn the gavel over.
Yeah,
Okay, because I have a conflict with this.
For
Okay.
18 and 20?
yes, anything to do with the West APR.
So the second article on the West APR, Article 20, we're taking $25,000 out of the Transfer of Development Rights Fund, which walks like a stabilization fund and smells like a stabilization fund. So I'm saying it's a 2/3 majority vote.
Well, it's never been called a stabilization fund. At some point, DOR might make you set it up as such,
Okay.
but it hasn't been.
All right,
So I'd say it's still majority.
so 20 is now a simple majority.
Okay.
Just running through these things, we have the consent agenda,
Right,
capital articles, fine,
right.
long-range plan, senior tax work-off, the two pilot agreements.
Yeah. CPA articles.
What is that? Sales tax on marijuana,
Yeah.
CPA articles, and the three zoning articles. I think we've got a town meeting.
How many are we passing over and what are we passing?
Who's
Three, I
the
think.
petitioner for Article 25? So I can, do I know the person?
He lives at 5 West Street, and I can't remember his name. I have his name downstairs and I'll have it for you tonight.
All right.
Don, what can we expect on the HCOG? Are we gonna, you wanna vote on that tonight or are we gonna pass it over?
I think, I don't even think we should waste time discussing. Just pass
Pass
over
over.
unless somebody has a question, then I'll answer it. Otherwise, we'll move along quicker.
Should we not, though, in that we have to give notice of anticipation, should we not?
Start the clock?
Start the clock on it so that next year we don't run into the same exact problem?
We can't, because of the 45-day deadline, we didn't do it in time.
But if we
So
do
we
it now,
could-
next year, if we wanted to, we'd have the
We
full
could do it for
approval.
the fall town meeting.
If you
But-
started it tonight, you could do it in the fall, right? Or no,
We
it's,
we can't do it at all, the way I understand it,
No.
right, David? Because we didn't give the 45-day notification.
Right, but what they're saying is this is to reboot it.
Town meeting vote will give us the authority to do it next year whenever we decide to do it. We don't have to go back to town meeting in order to get this done.
Why
Well, do
wouldn't
you
we
think
just
it
wait
would
for
be
the fall?
beneficial
That's
if I
fine with me.
spoke
It's just
about why
because
we're
it's-
passing over it a little bit, so people will know, or just go with it?
I'd rather not talk about it twice. If we're gonna pass it over, let's pass, in my humble opinion.
And then bring
let's-
it back in
yeah.
the fall if we choose
Yeah.
to.
And if you stood up and said that there's a lot of other things going on right at this point in time, and it's not, we're not prepared, but anticipate a fall, then I think people will.
They'll understand.
they might not even question it.
Yeah.
If
They
they
might
do,
not.
I'll turn to you.
Okay, that'd be fine.
All right. Looks pretty straightforward, folks.
Do you need to know who's gonna be
Oh, I
doing the
forgot my ballot.
dedications?
Thank you. What's that?
You wanna know
Oh,
who's
yeah.
doing the dedications?
Yes, who's doing the dedication?
I have Fred Oakley, and Donald is doing
Ray Shaw.
Ray Shala, and Joyce will be taking care of Marilyn Judah.
Ellen is Joyce. And Fred Oakley. Who are the award winners this year?
Marilyn Judah,
Yeah,
Glenn Clark is the Fred Oakley,
yeah.
and Ray Shala is the dedication, and as well as Judah.
Dedication to the town book.
Yeah. So I'll start with the Fred Oakley Award, and then we'll do the two dedications
Glenn, you expect Glenn to hear this evening?
Yes.
David, do you remember what our final vote was if the board supported the CPA? What was our recommendation on that?
CPA article?
Yeah,
Which
for the
one?
10,000.
I think you were split on that.
10,000 for what?
Uh,
Cog?
CPA. for-
Against, 4 to 1 against.
Yeah, it was 4 to
We're
1
against
against.
it.
4 to
Yeah.
1 against.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's gotta be noted,
Yep.
Especially from the articles in the paper today.
Which one's that?
yeah. That's the
That
one
would
for
be number
CPA
16.
money for the courthouse,
Number
10,000.
16?
Article 16.
Fifteen. 16. Against.
And finances.
Finance, against.
So Brian, like last time, got a few talking points at the beginning of it. Do you want to do that before the first article, or do you want to do it right before the budget?
Why don't we do it after the consent articles?
Yep.
We'll get them out of the way.
Sure.
What I think we'll do tonight is, I'll open the meeting, introduce everybody, any distinguished people. If I expect Mr. Sybeck will be here.
He's in Florida.
Is he? Well, he
Yeah.
won't be here then. And then we'll go right to the Fred Oakley Award, and then we'll go to the dedications.
Rules and regulations.
Well,
and
yeah, after all that.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Pledge of Allegiance, as soon as I get through all the particulars, we'll go right to the Fred Oakley Award and then the 2 dedications. Then we'll do the consent agenda and we'll get all that out of the way. And then before we get to the revolving fund or the fund balances, if you wish to speak and take some time there, I think that's the best time to do it, because that leads you right into the financials.
Right, right. Okay.
Point of order, town meeting has to authorize me to take the gavel from Brian, correct?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So Brian would ask that due to a conflict of interest, he would be asking me to take the gavel for the next 2 articles in which his family is named as part of it.
Technically, there's supposed to be an election, but he was gonna step in for a couple of articles.
It can be done by a raise of hand though, right?
Yes, well, yeah, theoretically, it has to be an election, it has to be a ballot, I mean,
So
there's a
so
whole
is it easier,
script we
I
have.
mean, what is, obviously I have family ties to those 2 articles, but basically all I'm doing is reading the motion.
Well, I was just gonna say, can't you just say clearly, I
Right.
have family ties to this
Right.
article?
If I make a full disclosure and then I read the motion,
Well-
it's still up to somebody else to move it, second it, and vote it. I guess the only contention would be if it ever came down to a count. Is
Well, not
that,
only that, but if there's some discussion.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's best that you don't preside, honestly, because you don't know what'll come up
Right.
out of the article.
all right,
So it's
so,
probably just best.
so most people aren't gonna know that we need to have an election to pass the
Right,
gap.
right, I'm just
That
letting you
camera's
know.
on, right?
They do
They do now, yeah.
But when it's, I mean, a lot of towns that will say, do handle it informally.
Right.
And just say that you have a.
Due to a conflict.
That you have a conflict and you've asked Selectman Devine if he would serve as moderator. If everyone's all in favor, say aye.
All right, that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
Temporary for the next 2 articles and
Yes.
absolved at that time.
What happens if there's like a technical question that we don't have an answer to, but he would as
Mr.
a family
Devine
member
luckily
for
knows.
somebody,
Well, he
then
could.
he could answer?
We
it?
still go to
Yeah.
the town attorney.
Yeah, but Brian can address it, because at that point he's stepped down, so he can speak as any other town
Citizen.
voter.
Yeah.
Yeah, citizen, right.
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
Good.
Any other questions?
Quorum.
It's gonna be tight.
Yeah.
Is this live right now? Is this live?
It is
No,
live.
it's
No,
taped.
it's
It's
taped
taped.
down.
It's just being recorded. Okay.
You can't leave for people.
Can't leave.
That'd be a good time for you, Molly, to address everybody if they're watching. It's live, you said? or
No, it's not, it's not.
Oh,
I thought
yeah.
it was live.
That's
Yeah.
what I was
We
gonna
wish.
say.
Too bad.
We'll just have to
That's
call
okay.
it. Or the Legion.
How long do we have to get a quorum?
Usually
the
7:15,
moderator.
7:30
Yeah.
max.
But it's up to the moderator,
It's up
right?
to me.
Second inning of the Sox game usually.
So if there's like a weather event or something like that, sometimes we've had
And
situations
if
where
there's no quorum, we all just go home and then what happens?
Reschedule.
we all start texting,
Reschedule.
is what we do.
So
We give it a
kinda
college try
we
first.
steer away from that. That is our last option,
Yeah,
is to postpone.
yeah.
You know, if we're sitting there and there's 92 people and it's 10 after 7, we're not gonna pull the plug. We're gonna
We're gonna
hang
beg.
out. We'll hang out a little while, and we might even make a few phone calls.
Yeah.
But I think
Do you have to be a property owner, or can you just be a resident of Hadley?
you gotta be a resident.
Need to be a voter.
A registered voter.
A voter?
Yeah.
So I
Registered
count.
voter.
I would count, right?
You
Yep.
would.
Okay.
Yeah, make sure you get your,
Make sure you get
Card
your
when you go in.
yellow, purple, whatever card, what color we using
yeah,
tonight?
We don't know yet.
So this is just a, when you vote, you just,
Yeah.
yeah.
and then you have to.
Any other business before us this
Yeah, if
evening,
we
Madam
don't-
Chair?
We can adjourn, is everybody ready to adjourn the meeting, or any final thoughts?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
There we go.